Hey everybody, Mark Lewis back at you here from Work Conference 2025 in New Orleans. I've got a lot of my old colleagues and friends here, and I want to take advantage of it while I can, because I said that's what I'm going to do. When I run into somebody I know is an expert, I'm going to bring them to the fore, and we're going to talk about that topic du jour. And for the second installment coming out of this session, I have Norm Saenz. That I'll let him introduce himself here in a minute, but I've known this gentleman for, I don't know, longer than probably either one of us care to admit, because we're not that old, and have been doing a lot of work together over the years. Norm, you want to just do a quick intro?
Yeah, Mark, thanks. Norm Saenz, work for Onge Company. Been there for 12 years, have about 30 plus years. Like I said, my first consulting gig is where I met Mark, like I said, 28 years ago or something.
Almost 30, yeah. Yeah, so Norm just did a session today, and I happened to sit in on it. I should say you hosted a panel or the roundtable on automation and robotics and material handling equipment in warehousing. And I thought it was great because there was a lot of good feedback and a lot of knowledge provided by people who are actually doing it, rather than just you or me standing up there and telling them how smart we are. And I thought this is perfect, because while this podcast is right now more tailored to nuts and bolts, small stuff, when you take advantage of it, you got somebody sitting here, let's talk. So Norm, what would you say in the session we just came out of, or the top 2, 3, 4, 5 things that were brought up and things people need to consider when they're looking at automation in a warehouse?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. You know, this roundtable was titled Automation, What Works and What Doesn't Work. And in this kind of setting, you have to get people to talk, right? So I could get up there and talk, but I like to get them to talk about what they're dealing with. So what was interesting is, as I started off and I started thinking about the actual title of the session, is really everything works, right? It's a matter of, did you apply it to the right application? Did you prepare yourself properly? Did you do all the things that you needed to do to make sure it was successful? What the people in there started, we talked about risks more than we talked about what works and what doesn't work. We talked about the things that could go wrong. And that's what makes automation not work, is if you don't avoid those risks.
Right.
And some of the risks that were the top ones were simply making sure that you have good data. If you know, everyone talked about data. One guy had an example of not knowing the volumes per hour, and then that caused one of their automated systems to fail. When peak hit at that given hour or two, they couldn't get throughput out. So data quality, item master quality, and proper planning around your requirements is probably the biggest risk. If you don't do that to a detailed level, you could be in trouble. Testing is a big one as well, is making sure you do the proper testing as the system is getting installed, so that you make sure that you're checking everything that is supposed to work and that it's working the way you intended it to. One of the other big risks before that even is having specifications that are documented, so you know what to tell the supplier you're looking for, what you expect the volumes to be, what you expect the performance of the system to be, and that you put all those expectations down on paper and that you are able to test that and that you're meeting all those requirements. There were a lot of things. It's hard to pick 5, honestly. ROI is a big factor, and so the risk is not having a good ROI, and that can be from not capturing all the real costs that are involved. Maintenance costs is a big one you can't forget about. The risk is forgetting about the increase in maintenance costs and the cost of maintenance when you have highly automated systems, and factoring that into the ROI. There's risks of just making sure you go with suppliers that have been in the industry, that have installs. People said don't just be the first install for a new supplier that has no examples and references, those type of things. So I don't know, those are some of the bigger examples.
Yeah, I thought that was good. One of the ones that was brought up, because a lot of times these are large projects, multi-million dollar projects. And so your timeline is multi-years on the return, and current market instability, current trade policies, and things like that. What are your thoughts on how do you rationalize that against doing something like this?
I mean, that is a reason why some of these projects are pausing right now, and there's some hesitancy moving forward. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It's still very big, automation and looking at it, but there's some of these uncertainties that are being built into the risk. I mean, we had a whole page of risks before someone brought up the market and the trades and things like that.
Maybe we won't even need this.
Yeah, we filled up a whole page of risk before we got to that one. So, I mean, there's a lot of positive things with getting the right system installed and the application, the savings you can get, the throughput, the market competitiveness that you need to have that somebody brought up. Like sometimes you don't need an ROI, you just need to be more efficient and automated. But there's a lot of risk associated with it, and we had one guy in the room that had to tear the whole thing out because it didn't work.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
Yeah, that was hard to hear.
That one was. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, and only because they didn't really know the peak time.
Well, you don't want to throw him under the bus.
Yeah,
but it was like you got to know your data.
You got to know your.
That was a data issue. Yeah. All right, man. I don't want to keep you, and I want to keep these things to about 5 minutes.
Yeah, there's a networking party right now.
And there's a networking party we need to be at. So, Norm Saenz, St. Onge, he knows what he's talking about. I'll have his contact link on here. Reach out if you need him, or reach out to me, and we'll point you out, or just him, whatever. And we'll get it from there, man. Y'all have a good week. Talk to you later.
Thanks.